Corruption Eradication Commission, or KPK, has officially expanded its investigation, naming 2 new suspects from the private sector. This followed the previous naming of former Religious Affairs Minister Yakut Khalil Komas as a key figure in this ongoing probe. The anti-graft agency has identified the new suspects as Ismail Adam, the operations director of PT Makassar Toraja, and Azrul Aziz Taba, the commissioner of PT Raudah Sati Utama. Notably, Azrul Aziz Taba also served as the general chairman of the Hajj and Umrah Association Kasturi. According to KPK investigators, both individuals allegedly played active roles in manipulating the distribution of additional special Hajj quotas. These actions are believed to be in direct violation of statutory regulations. Furthermore, the suspects are accused of providing illicit funds to state officials to secure these quotas. KPK spokesperson stated that the investigation is far from over. The agency is currently tracing evidence across 2 clusters: the government organizers and the private sector stakeholders. More suspects may be named as further evidence is gathered.
We've conducted searches to secure evidence related to the manipulation of the additional 20,000 Haji quota slots. While the suspect was cooperative during the raid, our findings suggest systematic tinkering of regulation, changing the legally mandated 92% for regular pilgrim ratio to 50-50 split with special pilgrims. Corruption Eradication Commission has arrested 2 individuals, one of PT Makassar Toraja Maktur, the operational director, Mr. ISN, and also the commissioner of PT Raudah Sati Utama, Mr. ISR, have been declared as suspects for the corruption of Haji quotas in Indonesia.
To help us navigate the legal and ethical years of this case, we are joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Joining us live in the studio, we have Khoi, a senior legal analyst and a specialist in anti-corruption law. Gentlemen and ladies, thank you both for being with us tonight.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for having me as a panel expert. So basically, before we go on to the corruption case, we will talk about of how they pulled this off. So normally when Saudi Arabia gave extra Haji quotas, in this case 20,000 to Indonesian citizens, our law stated that 92% of them gotta go to the regular pilgrims or regular Haji, and the rest 8% will go to the Haji khusus. So is in this case it's only 92%, which already the people that go to these regular pilgrims already waited 20 plus years to get even a quota. So you must understand the essential of this. And for those who have a lot of money, they can go like paying extra to get the 8% Haji khusus. So, but the thing is, these private travel agents didn't just want 8%, because by selling more tickets they got more money. So what they do is that they wanted more, of course, so they bribed the Ministry of Religious Affairs using foreign countries like US and Saudi riyals to hide the money trails, and in exchange for that bribe they will alter the distribution illegally from a 90-8 to a 50-50 split. So the one that has been waiting for 10-20 years, they're gonna wait for another decade, I mean. So why is it messed up? So basically, the first one is that it's a stolen time. People got that already wait for 20 years gotta wait a long more because of these people with their case. And the second is that the profiteering. So basically, when there's a sale on the Haji khusus, the travel agency they didn't just take all the money. They will give it to the Ministry of Religious Affairs. So it's a really messed up things. Yeah, you can say it is that this agency, like they they make a massive profit by auctioning the ticket to the highest bidder. So it's really messed up. So what is the impact of to our country? So from a citizenship perspective, this case destroys the social contract between the state and the people. So just because a couple, it's not a couple actually, it's 922 billion of damage, and yeah, of damage. But like for that amount of money, uh, the Ministry of Religion did all of that. So what I mean is that our fifth sila stated that the social justice for all Indonesia. This case is the exact opposite of it. It creates a divided system where this wealth, while the wealth can buy everything, even the rules. So while the ordinary citizen are forced to obey the broken system. So I think that's all for me.
Okay, so thank you for our panel expert, Mr. Kai. This brings the total number of suspects in the Hajj case to 4, including the former Minister of Religious Affairs Yakut Khalil Kulmas and his special staff member Isfah Abidil Aziz. The Ministry of Religious Affairs has yet to release an official statement regarding these new charges against private sector partners. We will continue to track this story as it develops. To start off,
Why we choose this case?
we choose the Hajj quota corruption scandal because it isn't just a headline about money, it's a story about people. In Indonesia, the Hajj is a once in a lifetime dream. Most citizens, like our grandmothers or our neighbors maybe, save up for 20 years just to get a spot.
When we hear about officials selling the quotas to private companies, it hits differently than a typical corporate bribe. We chose this case because it shows the human cost of corruptions. It's the perfect example of how technical administrative decision in a government office can directly break the heart of thousands of honest citizens waiting in line.
So moving on to the reason why we choose this specific case. So we choose this case is because it involved the former minister and the private travel directors, and it perfectly illustrates the systematic corruption between these two groups, these two clusters. You have the government on the other side and the private association on the other. So they work on this together to bypass the law by corruption. And in our role play, we want to highlight this 50-50 split where extra shipment for the public were diverted to special Hajj programs for a price. This isn't just a mistake. It is a calculated move that prioritized the highest bidder, the highest person who's willing to pay over the rightful citizens that have been waiting for 20 plus years. And it gives us a clear villain and victim to analyze speaker.
Next up is the correlation between this case and citizenship. Now, there are two things that we must pay attention to in regards to citizenship and in regards to this case of corruption. Firstly, is that behind every case of corruption, there will be regulation that has been disobeyed, regulation that was not complied to. And this is really the basis for such declarations of corruption. In this case, the ex-minister did not comply with rules that he set up himself, and therefore he was deemed misusing his power as the minister of religion. And so you can see here that a case of corruption is not just based out of greed, but when we sort of start to understand really what's going on from a regulatory framework, and also what he did wrong, what that person did wrong that made them deserve a sort of declaration of corruption, then we start to see that these people might not be corruptors just because they are greedy, but really in some cases it's a case of tardiness, a case of where they did not maybe do it on purpose, yet they did it because they forgot. And it really goes to show the level of responsibility that policymakers have, such as this ex-minister in this case. And it's a very important lesson for us because through this case we get that new insight. But also through this case we understand that, if we didn't look into the case, if we didn't explore the regulatory framework behind it, and if we didn't do extensive research, we would have never understood really the nature of the case of corruption here. It's easy for us as citizens of Indonesia to look at a case of corruption and be like, wow, again, another person that, went haywire, a person that got too greedy for their own good, right? But what do we have to understand that behind it, there has already been some checks and balances put in place, namely the law. And in this case, the law was simply broken. A law that the ex-minister made himself, and he broke himself. And that inconsistency in his tenure as the minister caused him to be deemed a corrupter, and rightfully so. So, it's a big lesson for us, number one, as citizens, right? That we must be cognizant and we must be literate about what's going on in the world of politics, in the world of policy making. And also that as policymakers, if we one day become policymakers, we must really understand the law, and we must therefore abide by the law that we have created, that we have wished to serve. That's about it.
Okay, so in this case, we can see a lack of distrust and a lack of integrity, and it is taking something that is that people can only experience once in their lifetimes, and it touches on everything that we've said before about conflict of interest, bribery, and also the lack of transparency. And as future professionals, we're in engineering or even in social fields, we will all face moments where we can bend the rules for a quick win. And from this case, it shows that the long-term fallout of these choices, a small shortcut today becomes a systemic failure tomorrow. And what starts as a favor will always end as a scandal. And by analyzing this scandal, we're practicing how to spot ethical breaches before they became routine. And we want, from our role play, to show that this integrity isn't just a buzzword, and it's the only thing standing between a fair society and a pay-to-play system. When integrity fails, merit loses to money and trust disappears.